Hey guys, welcome back to beautiful sunny California, where I'm actually out here in La Jolla, about 30 minutes outside of San Diego, because Chevy has flown me out to drive that truck right behind me. This is the all-new third generation 2023 Chevrolet Colorado in the LT trim. Now, this has always been a game-changing mid-size truck ever since it came out with an all-new version back in 2015. Now that Chevy is releasing an all-new version again for 2023, we're going to take you on a tour of this LT trim. We're going to go over all the changes that Chevy has made. At the end of this video, we're going to find out if the company has managed to raise the bar yet again if you're looking for a small truck. Now, when Chevy launches the all-new Colorado later this year, they're actually going to offer it in 5 different trim levels. This is the LT trim, which is one trim above the standard work truck, which is the base trim level. Later on, I'm going to show you guys a Trail Boss and an LTZ trim in a separate video, but in this video, we're just going to go over all of the changes, all of the new tech features that Chevy offers on even the one trim up from the base work truck. Now, first of all, this LT trim is painted in cement white. It's got a fairly good amount of options on it, but it starts at around $34,900. So we're going to talk about what that essentially gives you when you guys go for that. Now, let me first talk about the styling of this truck, because you can see the Colorado for me has always been a good looking truck, but I've always found that the GMC Canyon was the better looking option. Although I think Chevy did a pretty good job with the redesign. This is built off of an all new frame. You can see the black accents that you get in the grille with the white look really good. You have the traditional yellow bow tie, and then my tester has a convenience package level 3 that includes the full LED headlights, which includes LED low and high beams, LED daytime running lights and turn signals, and you also have LED fog lights. Now, keep in mind, if you guys want a base version of the Colorado, you actually don't get LED headlights. It's an option even on the LT trim, and it's not available on the Trail Boss, but it's standard on the ZR2 and the LTZ trim. Now, overall, the front styling of the truck certainly looks nice for me. You can definitely tell this truck is wider. It's taller significantly by about 8 inches, but it's also about the same size lengthwise. But let's go ahead and look around the side profile of this new Colorado, because unlike the prior generation, Chevy is only offering the Colorado in one cab and bed length configuration. You essentially can only buy it as a crew cab, which is 4 full-size doors and the shorter 5-foot bed. It stretches around 213 inches long in overall length, which is about a half an inch longer than the prior generation. Its wheelbase, however, has been stretched by 3 inches. So now the distance between both the front and rear wheels is 131 inches, which is again a lot bigger versus the prior generation. But really what's a huge change is the height. At 78 inches tall, this vehicle is about 8 inches taller than the prior generation. So Chevy really wanted to give this more of a big truck look. It's also about a half an inch wider, assuming you guys don't go for the Trail Boss trim or the ZR2 trim, which is going to give you an even wider stance. Now, my tester with the LT Convenience Package 3 also includes upgraded 18-inch wheels. You can see they're riding on a 265/60 R18 Goodyear Wrangler all-terrain tire. Well, it's not really an all-terrain, it's a truck street tire. You can see the 18-inch wheels have a really nice design where you have a gunmetal, kind of more of a metallic finish. Just like the prior generation, you have a Colorado badge there on the door, which to me still looks really out of place. I like the gray painted side mirror over here with integrated cameras. And then my tester, of course, has the keyless entry option, which is actually optional on the work truck. There's also a sunroof you can get for $1,000. My truck doesn't have it. But again, looking at the rest of the profile, you can see very traditional look. It again takes a lot of styling cues from the bigger brother Chevy Silverado, which is not a bad place to take styling cues from, especially when you look at the rear. Now, at the rear, my tester, you can see the taillights resemble the new Silverado a lot. There's Chevrolet kind of stamped into the tailgate. And then you can see here you get LED accented taillights, although you can see the brake lights look like they're incandescent. That is part of an option when you go for the LED headlights to get the LED accents. This model here will tow a maximum of 7,000 pounds. It has the upgraded engine, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And you can see here, the tailgate step is a nice handy feature for those of you who need to get into the bed, which is nice. Now, I want to show you guys the bed because that's always the important aspect for a pickup truck. You can see the tailgate is now damped, which is really nice. My tester also has a spray-in bed liner that's part of the Convenience Package 2, I believe. And then the Convenience Package 2 also includes their StowFlex tailgate, which is an industry first storage that you're going to find in the actual tailgate itself, which is a really nice feature. This is actually about 4 inches deep and 45 inches wide across. So there's a fairly good amount of space in here to store dirty items or tools. You can see it's also shielded from the elements here. It's also sealed off from the elements, which is nice. This is an optional feature. It's standard when you guys go for the higher trim of the truck, but it's optional as part of a package when you guys go for the lower trims. Now, the spray and bed liner is also optional. I don't have the payload capacities just yet of this model here, but you can see the 5-foot bed is very usable, but it is slightly a bit of a downgrade versus the prior generation, which offered a longer bed, a 6-foot bed, if you guys wanted to go for a crew cab, or an 8-foot bed if you wanted to go for the extended cab. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of the Colorado, more specifically the LT trim. I want to first show you guys the key fob. You can see this is Chevy's current key fob. It includes remote start, it has the lock and unlock and panic buttons. This is actually an optional feature if you guys go for the base work truck trim. You can see on the LT, you have a button here that locks and unlocks the doors, and then you have to push the button again, and that'll unlock the doors for you. Now, my tester with the convenience package level 3 includes this faux leather material. Nulux, I think is what they call it. But it's definitely a nice material. It feels very durable. It also feels very comfortable. These seats are also heated, but Chevy doesn't offer cooled seats. You also get a power driver's seat, 8-way power driver's seat with 2-way lumbar. That is included on the LT convenience package level 2. In terms of the materials, you can see it's a truck. So you have hard touch plastic materials, but it is nice and padded over here where your armrest would rest, or on the armrest where your elbows would rest. The window controls, one touch up down for the driver, and one touch down for all the other window trims, it feels like, but not one touch up. Down here you can see lots of storage and hard touch plastic. But getting inside, this truck has roughly 7.9 inches of ground clearance. So as I get in and shut the door, it has a pretty nice solid sounding thunk. And this is kind of the big story with the new Colorado, is their new technology. If you can believe it, that 11-inch screen is actually standard even on the base work truck. And then you also have an 8-inch screen here in the instrument panel, which is also standard, which is unheard of. It's the industry's largest screen in this segment, which is kind of sad to say, but technology hasn't really always been a priority for this segment of vehicle. But of course, that's all about to change. Starting the truck up, you can hear that engine has the same kind of sound that I've heard in other GM vehicles with that 2.7-liter turbo inline 4. It's a big displacement 4-cylinder, which the engine itself doesn't have the most pleasant sound. I'm not going to drive the vehicle today, but I'll definitely notice the 4-cylinder groan does not have the same nice symphony of the old V6. But taking a look at the rest of this interior, you can see it's a truck, so I'm not expecting too much in terms of high quality materials. This is a hard touch plastic material. There's a lot of piano black plastic trim. There is a nice padded area here with genuine stitching, it looks like, along the lower portion of the dash. It's also around here. You have kind of a silver painted plastic trim, along with dual zone automatic temperature control, which is definitely nice. I believe that's included when you guys go for this trim and up, which, let me turn that down. The fan speed decided to start blasting on me. Down here you can see this is where you can actually open all the windows all at once, which is definitely nice, but it only allows you to open the windows down. But you can see, and if you want to put them back up, you have to go to the controls here on the driver's side, which I want to clarify that the driver's side window is auto up down. Everything else is only up down, or auto down, but not automatic up. Now, in terms of the technology here, the 8-inch screen is slightly customizable. You also have a heated steering wheel that my tester has. It's also included as that LT convenience package level 3. You can see if I push this button right here, you can actually change the way this gauge display looks, which isn't bad. You can actually simplify it if you'd like to just be a simple speedometer. I actually like this view where it shows you all your usual gauges and a tachometer and a digital speedometer and whatnot. This 11-inch display here is part of their Google Android-based operating system. It also has Google Commands, which is pretty good. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is definitely nice. This is pretty similar to the system that I've shown you in the GMC Hummer EV, of course, with a slightly smaller screen. It is a really nice system, and my tester even includes a feature like a full 360 camera with a top-down view and front and rear parking sensors, and you also have kind of like these curb views if you were off-roading this vehicle or you want to keep from curbing the wheels. All great, really great features. So the technology, Chevy has really upgraded that. My tester also has a Bose stereo system, which sounds pretty good. That's something I believe you couldn't even get in the Colorado, so there's a lot more premium upscale touches. There are some incandescent map lights in here, which is kind of surprising to find. You do have new tech features like lane keep assist. You also have adaptive cruise control in this truck, which you couldn't even get in the prior generation, along with the LED headlights. And then down here you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad, which is finally large enough to fit your big smartphones. The prior generation offered one, but you couldn't even fit these iPhone Max phones, which is kind of silly. It really showed the age of the truck. You have a electronic four-wheel drive switch over here, electronic parking brake, a very traditional shifter for the 8-speed auto. It includes a manual mode on the shifter itself, but no paddles on the wheel. The steering wheel itself, by the way, offers a good amount of telescope and tilting ability, so it's relatively easy to get a comfortable driving position. The horn sounds good. It doesn't sound puny or wimpy, which is nice. And then down here you can see you have a cup holders with another area where you could store your cell phone. Open this up, you can see there's 2 levels of storage. It's actually a pretty deep storage cubby. You have 2 USB charging ports there, a USB-A and a USB-C. Like I said earlier, the seats are pretty comfortable and supportive. I like the massive amounts of headroom. There is a sunroof available, I believe, for $1,000. And if you open this up, you can see the glove box kind of just cheaply falls. It's a bin style, it's big. It's not lined with felt or damped. So I'll show you guys an interior of a Trail Boss and a LTZ later on, but let me go ahead and show you guys the back seat really quick, because this truck is only available as a crew cab, which means it's going to be more practical, obviously, for those of you who need the space. Now, sadly, with the increase in the wheelbase around 3 inches, Chevy didn't really prioritize rear seat space. You have 34.7 inches of legroom, which is actually about an inch less versus the prior generation. You do still have the ability to fold this seat up, which is a little hard for me to do with one hand, because you have to pull this lever here and then you have to move that up, which, as you can see there's a little bit of storage, and then when I put it down, you just pull that lever and that falls down again. You can see the headrests, you can also fold them down to get them out of the way. But let me go ahead and get back here and show you guys the space. You can see legroom here is fine. For somebody my height, it's definitely not bad. As I get in and shut the door, you can see you have hard touch plastic materials back here, but it is padded where my elbows would rest. You have chrome accented door handles. You have storage pockets in each of the seats, cup holders, and surprisingly, I have rear seat air vents along with 2 USB charging ports, but no heated rear seats. It looks like there's an empty button here where one could put one there. There's a nice little sliding manual rear window back here, which is nice. And then this armrest is apparently optional, part of the convenience package level 2. But when you get that, you can see it definitely makes the rear area more comfortable. I'm just surprised with that 3-inch stretch that Chevy didn't want to give us more rear seat legroom. It's definitely still usable, but some competitors like the Jeep Gladiator or the Honda Ridgeline are going to offer more space in the back seats. Now, underneath the hood of the new Colorado, the prior generation offered several different choices, from a base 4-cylinder to a naturally aspirated V6 to a turbo diesel inline 4. Chevy has gotten rid of all of those options and replaced it with just one engine, which is a 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. They do, however, offer it in 3 specific tunes. This is actually the Turbo Plus engine, which means it has 310 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. The base work truck has a 237 horsepower tuned version, which is designed to replace the old 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. This essentially replaces the V6, and it actually has 2 more horsepower versus the V6, but like over 100 more pound-feet of torque. So that's a significant difference. It all goes out through a next-generation 8-speed automatic transmission, which I hear is a Chevy design transmission. Sadly, I don't have fuel economy figures just yet, but they did say that this model should be able to tow around 7,700 pounds, which is around 700 pounds more versus the old prior generation with the V6. They don't quote any 0 to 60 performance either, and I also don't have the final curb weight figures just yet either, so that's something that I'll share with you guys later on as Chevy makes that information available. But overall, this engine is the same engine that we find in the Silverado, and it should be a worthy replacement for the V6, especially when you look at the torque figures. This engine has more torque even versus the old 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6, which really matters, of course, when you guys are buying a truck. So obviously Chevy made a lot of improvements to the Colorado for the 2023 model year, and that's not surprising considering they do well over 110,000 of these trucks every year. In fact, they did 116,000 in the US last year. At their peak, they did almost 150,000. So this is actually a really strong selling vehicle, and Chevy really raised the bar back in 2015 when they finally injected some life into this segment. So for 2023, they're kind of doing it again. Of course, we are expecting new versions of the Ford Ranger and the Toyota Tacoma at some point as well. So there's going to be a lot of competition. I should also be driving the GMC Canyon at some point, which is this truck's more luxury-oriented twin. I will say, however, that at a base price of around $30,500 for the WT trim, it is a relatively good value. Chevy actually only increased the price by about $1,000 versus the prior generation. For those of you who want an LT, however, this is going to start at around $34,900. So it's a fairly good chunk of money more versus the work truck, but four-wheel drive, if you guys want four-wheel drive, it's about a or $3,300 upcharge, which is again a pretty pricey option. My tester, however, has around $12,000 in options, including the LT Convenience Package 1, 2, and 3, a technology package, of course, and the upgraded stereo that you get in this vehicle. All in, my tester is around $46,700. I know, $47,000 nearly for this truck is a lot of money, but it finally has some tech features that warrant that. But just keep in mind, if you guys look at the higher trims of this truck, which I'm going to show you guys later on, they can be priced well over $50,000, so kind of keep that in mind. This segment is getting very expensive, and you're definitely getting into the full-size truck category in terms of pricing if you want a fully loaded version of this. So my recommendation, probably keep the options in check. You can probably get one of these for well around the $40,000 range, which sounds reasonable. But if you guys want to see a full driving impression review, be sure to come back on Friday, February 17th at 9 a.m. We'll be doing a review on a Trail Boss and an LTZ trim. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed this pretty brief, in-depth tour of the LT trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.